Hey Credit Warriors, Credit Shuffle here, and this is one of those fun videos where we analyze a news article about credit cards. Actually, in this case, a survey with some data about Americans' usage of credit cards, and by the title you can see that we are talking about the average American not really making the most of credit card rewards. So there was this survey which was in the Ascent, which is by the Motley Fool. If you don't know the Motley Fool, it's a website mostly about stock trading and investing, that kind of thing. I guess they're branching out into credit cards. Anyway, so they did this survey, and they surveyed 1,000 people who had at least one credit card. Okay, so they made sure that each person in the survey had at least one. And some of their findings are quite interesting. So the average American from this survey of 1,000 people had 3 credit cards, and only 1 in 10 people had 6 or more credit cards. All right, so just from that fact alone, you can see that a lot of people are leaving quite a lot of value on the table in terms of getting rewards, even in terms of building their credit score. 3 credit cards is seen as low, okay, or 3 credit accounts would be seen as low from the point of view of credit scoring, okay? So it's actually better to have more credit cards, even though that's kind of counterintuitive. It seems you think keeping credit cards to a minimum would help your credit score. Actually, it's the opposite. As long as those accounts are paid on time and everything, the more the better. Now, the average American also owes $6,000 on credit cards in debt. Okay, that's according to CNBC, not the Motley Fool, but that certainly is a sizable amount. So let's have a look into how they break down by generation, and then later in this video we'll look at how people are missing out on rewards. So they break down this survey by generation. It's quite interesting. So millennials have on average 3 credit cards. Okay, millennials are people who came of age around the year 2000 or in the 2000s, okay? So I'm on the high end of that. I'm 33, so I was sort of 14 around the year 2000, coming of age, 2005, 6, 7, that kind of thing, early 20s. So millennials are people sort of under 35. A lot of them are in their late 20s now. Then we have Generation X, who on average have 4 credit cards. They tend to be, they're a bit older, like 35 and above, people in their 40s and stuff. And then you have baby boomers, who they also have on average 4 credit cards, and they are sort of retiring now. So they're kind of like, 55, 60 and older, all right? So obviously from that, we notice millennials have the least credit cards. There could be 2 reasons for this. One is that they're genuinely, less likely to, their attitude to debt is different. They're less likely to take out debt products. Because of the financial crisis, which they lived through, all right? They were coming of age, they were young adults while the 2008 financial crisis happened. Or it could just be because they're younger, they haven't had as much time to accumulate as many cards. I don't know. They are in their late 20s, so they probably have had, quite a bit of time. So I think it probably could be because of their attitude to debt is different to older people. But even if their attitude is different, they still have debt. So from this survey, 60% of people surveyed had credit card debt, which is, quite a staggering figure when you see that, 60% of people are paying credit card interest rates, which are like 20% or more, okay? So that's actually quite staggering. And broken down by generation, millennials did have the least debt. So millennials had about 56.7% of them had debt. Gen X, 67% of them had debt. And the baby boomers, 65% of them had debt. When you're talking about, maximizing credit card rewards, having any debt at all is really detrimental to what you're trying to do in maximizing those rewards. So let's just give an example. Let's say you're in debt on a credit card that's interest rate is 24% per year, okay? I'm using 24% just because it's easy to do the math, all right? So let's divide that by 12 to get the monthly interest rate. So that's 2% a month that you're paying. And let's say you're spending on a card that has, the Citi Double Cash, for example, it's 2% cash back. So if you just go into debt for 1 month, okay, you keep that amount of money as a debt for 1 month, that completely cancels out all the cash back you earned on that spending. Just 1 month and it's canceled out. And then let's say you keep, 3, 4, 4 months, right? The first month cancels it out, and then you're going into negative. You're paying out extra money. So 2 months, you'd be down 2% after the cash, so total 4%, cancels out the cash back, you're down another 2%. Let's say 4 months, you're down a total of 6%, all right, after you've canceled out that cash back. So any debt at all just cancels out any rewards you're earning from a credit card, all right? So the majority of people, 60% of people, are not doing it right by having some credit card debt. And what is even more shocking is that 1 in 5 people they surveyed reported relying on credit cards for their daily spending, okay, just living expenses, which is crazy. All right, now let's get into the types of credit cards that people prefer. So you can see on this chart that they've done, 58.4% of people prefer cashback credit cards. Now that is good. I mean, they're preferring some kind of rewards credit card, all right? But I would say that the education about it, you know, the most lucrative rewards are not cashback. So the majority of people actually preferring some kind of card that's kind of, you know, it's not a travel credit card, all right? 39% of people like store cards, 30% of people like low interest cards, and just 16.3% are into airline or travel credit cards, and only 5.7% are into hotel cards. But you know, those are the two most lucrative categories, okay? Travel credit cards and hotel credit cards. I assume in their travel credit card category, they're lumping in like Amex Platinum, Sapphire Reserve with the airline cards, okay? So, you know, people are leaving a lot of value on the table, because with cashback, let's say, you know, you can get something like the Citi Double Cash, which gives you 2% back on everything, and then maybe you have a few other cashback cards with categories, so on average, you can probably get around 3%, okay? But if you're getting airline miles, you can get so much more value out of it. I mean, you can get 5, 6, 7, 8% value when you're redeeming airline miles for like business class flights, for example. I remember Rami from Points Pointers, he said he got 22 cents per point in value when he redeemed for certain first class and business class products. Now, admittedly, it does require a lot more research into, you know, how to redeem and all this kind of stuff to get those kind of values. Perhaps it's that the majority of people, they want rewards, but they just go for a simple cashback card because that's what's easy to understand. I think that could be why. I have a friend who his criteria for a credit card is that it earns cashback and it has no annual fee. And his whole wallet was just like 10 cashback cards, nothing else. So some people just like the simplicity. Okay, fair enough. And then we have hotel credit cards. Only 5.7% of people preferred hotel credit cards, which is pretty crazy, because with hotel cards, you can get huge value. A lot of them give you a free night. For example, the Hilton cards, weekend free night that can be used at any Hilton property, including properties such as the Conrad in the Maldives. Beautiful, amazing, you know, desert island like hotel, 5-star, and you can get that as a free night just by having the card, okay? The Aspire card or Ascend card. If you've spent 15 grand a year, you get the free night. So that's pretty incredible, and a lot of people are leaving that kind of value on the table, which is crazy. Now, millennials are more likely to care more about rewards, apparently, than baby boomers, twice as likely, and baby boomers care more about the APR rate. I would say that's understandable because, you know, baby boomers are quite old now. Credit card rewards only really came in the late 80s, early 90s, so, you know, they weren't really around for most of the time when these retirees, these baby boomers, were in their prime. So it makes sense that they would look more at the traditional factors of assessing a credit card, like how much APR does it charge, etc. And also young people, they're more active on the internet, so they probably read all the blogs and stuff and learn a bit more about rewards. So that's understandable. 48% of people cite rewards as one of the reasons they use a credit card, which is obviously good. But now comes the most shocking statistic. 57.5% of people they surveyed still prefer using a debit card, and only 35.7% preferred using a credit card, and 6.8% preferred cash. Okay, that's understandable, but using a debit card, really? So 48% of people cite rewards as a reason for getting a credit card, but then only 30% of them actually use their credit card, actually prefer to use the card to get the rewards, okay, which just doesn't make sense. I mean, in my opinion, you should just never ever use a debit card. What's the point? You know, if you're getting a credit card, you might as well use that credit card, earn the rewards, pay it back immediately. I think the real losers in this, though, it's cash. I mean, I don't have any cash these days to give to beggars on the street, all right? Homeless people on the street, which is kind of sad, you know? I was once out on the street and there was a homeless guy and he asked for some money. I was like, look, man, I'm sorry. I even opened up my wallet. I was like, I just don't have cash these days. And he's like, yeah, you know, not many people do. And it's because of, you know, everyone's paying on plastic because credit cards are so good. So it is a shame. It's kind of sad. And it's also good to carry a bit of cash around for tipping as well. So it is kind of sad that plastic has taken over to such a big extent. But also another reason for using a credit card over a debit card, in addition to the rewards, is that the kind of extended warranty and travel insurance that you get from credit cards, except for city credit cards now. See our earlier video this week. The kind of extended warranties and all the protections and insurances you get from credit cards. I would never buy like an electronic item, or I'd never book travel tickets with a debit card now. It has to be with a credit card, so you get all that insurance, which is really, really important. So I basically see almost no reason to use a debit card. So guys, let's conclude. So my conclusion on this is that, you know, millennials are slightly more savvy about credit cards than obviously the older two generations, Generation X and the baby boomers. But it seems that there is still a big gap in education about just exactly what, you know, is the best way to use a credit card to maximize rewards. Most people are just using cashback, which, although, you know, I totally understand why some people would prefer it, especially if you have massive business saving. You know, you spend like $100,000 a month and you can get 2 or 3% cashback. That's $3,000, you know, cool. But if you aren't in that position and you're looking to maximize your spending, maybe you can put only like 30, 40 grand a year on cards, then you definitely want to be going the, you know, points and miles where you get much, much more value out of them. So that's my opinion on that. You know, like, not enough people seem to be knowing about travel credit cards. But on the other kind of the reverse of that is that less people doing it, maximizing it, actually means that the credit card companies are paying out less rewards. So it's more likely that they won't cut perks. If too many people are doing it, too many people know the secrets, then it is more likely that certain things will get cut, okay? So it's actually in our interest that people don't have as good credit card habits as us. So guys, you know, if you want to learn about how to maximize credit card rewards, do watch this channel, read all the blogs that are online. I'll put a link to this survey in a pinned comment below. There's actually more info on it, more info in it than I've talked about. And it's quite interesting just to see the credit card habits of, you know, the average American and split between the three generations, Generation X, baby boomers, and millennials. As always, we'll put some of our favorite travel credit cards, because we have recommended travel credit cards as the #1 way to maximize your spending, points and miles, etc. We'll put those links below. You can check them out. Please subscribe if you're new. Leave a comment below what you think about this. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.